This disclaimer says it all. Darkest Dungeon is perhaps one of the most anxiety-inspiring titles I've ever had the pleasure to play to date, and I mean that in the best of ways. It's a turn-based, roguelike dungeon crawler, and it blends all three genres seamlessly into a challenging tactical experience. Developed by Red Hook Studios, it was released on PC and PS4 some time ago, but the Switch version came out January 18th, 2018 and costs $24.99 USD or your regional equivalent. The Nintendo eShop also sells the Ancestral Edition bundle, which consists of the base game and its DLCs, the Crimson Court and the Shieldbreaker, which add an additional scenario and playable cast respectively for $34.99.
Ruin has come to our family.
It's impressive how a game about the psychological stresses of dungeon diving could generate so much stress on the other side of the screen. In-game, your every move and every decision made matters, and when you die, you stay dead, just like real life. I'll be honest, I could only play in short sessions, as concerned as I was for the mental and physical health of my favorite, and consequently strongest heroes. That's what I get for picking favorites, I suppose, and doesn't help that you can name your characters and change their armor color. Still, each and every time I picked up the game, my harrowing dive into the dungeon's depth was exhilarating, challenging, and best of all, rewarding. Returning to town and seeing the choir's update on the state of things during my absence was a victorious moment, and one could only understand if they had made it out alive, wary and stressed both in-game and out, but alive. The story here is that your ancestor released an unspeakable horror from the depths of the dungeon he had built below your family's manse. He writes a letter asking you to free the family of this terrible tentacle curse, before succumbing to madness and killing himself. This short introductory cutscene sets the tone for the rest of the game, and you should expect to encounter violence, horrors of Lovecraftian nature, realistic maladies like disease and psychological ailments, and the testing of mental fortitude, or rather, the pushing of one's psyche to its breaking point.
You remember our venerable house, opulent and imperial. It is a festering abomination. I beg you, return home, claim your birthright, and deliver our family from the ravenous, clutching shadows.
Still with me? Good. Let's start with presentation because it's fantastic. Blacks and reds are the primary colors here, which is immediately noticeable if you just glance at some screenshots, but beyond the grungy art style and subdued color palette, there are a lot of nuances that make this indie gem sparkle. The narrator, a man with a deep and menacing voice, provides commentary during your dungeon exploration, his timely remarks punctuating powerful strikes, whether by friend or foe, discoveries both good and bad, and the like. It adds to the already tense atmosphere, and his impartial nature can either encourage or cow you. The animation, a sort of a stop-and-go affair where the camera zoom is key, also has a dramatic flair. It adds a solid feel to strikes in combat, and also a moment where you hold your breath upon opening a chest or interacting with an object, because you'll have no idea what the outcome will be. In short, the game's presentation is both effective and stylish, immersing you in this Lovecraftian slice of hell.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Gameplay can be separated into two phases, planning and dungeon diving. During the former, you're able to hire warm bodies to fill your roster, treat sickness and multiple neuroses in the sanitarium, de-stress by taking part in a variety of activities in the tavern and abbey, and upgrade your equipment, skills, and facilities. It sounds like a lot, and it is, but I'll provide an overview shortly. During the dungeon diving phase, you'll take a team of 4 into one of 5 thematically varied dungeons in order to complete quests until a boss rears its ugly head and then separate it from his, her, or its body. In addition to the dungeons themselves, your expansive estate includes a hamlet with the following facilities, each of which can be upgraded to increase their effectiveness and decrease their strain on your coffers. Rather than gold, you'll use heirlooms found during your dungeon runs and given as quest rewards. The stagecoach allows you to recruit new heroes. It can be upgraded to give a larger selection of heroes as well as grant a higher chance of finding skilled ones. The guild allows you to upgrade and learn combat skills. You must upgrade the guild in order to access new tiers of skills. The blacksmith allows you to upgrade your weapons and armor. You must upgrade the blacksmith in order to access new tiers of weapon and armor upgrades. The survivalist allows you to upgrade and learn new camping skills. Camping skills are key in dungeons, particularly the longer ones, and require a camping kit to use. The Nomad Wagon allows you to purchase trinkets. Trinkets give handy stat boosts and effects, but also give negative stats, so equip them with caution. Some are class restricted. The Sanitarium allows you to commit heroes in order to cure them of diseases, remove negative quirks, or lock in positive quirks. Prices vary based on severity. The Abbey and Tavern. I group these two together because they serve the same purpose of distressing your heroes. Upgrading these facilities allows you to leave behind multiple heroes and also decreases the cost of use. Sometimes you'll have to make the difficult decision between allowing a hero to rest and losing a powerful ally when you need him the most, or risking a psychotic break. There's also a graveyard where you can view fallen heroes and honor their memory. After you've prepared to the best of your abilities, it's time to make your peace with God and descend into the darkness. For those accustomed to the roguelike genre, it's common knowledge that these games revolve around risk versus reward, and Darkest Dungeon manages to infuse those sorts of decisions into every single aspect of the game. It begins with a team of 4 you'll lead into the depths. You're able to recruit a number of would-be heroes free of charge in town, and each will fit into an RPG archetype like tank, healer, DPS, etc. Classes have their own unique, thematically complementary names like Grave Robber, Plague Doctor, Abomination, Houndmaster, and so on. Each individual has personality quirks, both negative and positive, that can affect their stats and even the way they behave in dungeons. A kleptomaniac, for example, will steal treasure before you can loot it. You aren't required to take a specific team composition, so will you risk taking in a team of heavy hitters, thus sacrificing defense, or will you try to outlast the enemy with a trio of healers? I personally prefer to go with 1 DPS, 1 tank, 1 healer, and 1 of any class that doles out negative status effects. On that note, one of the DLCs I mentioned at the beginning of my review, the Shieldbreaker, introduces a similarly named class which specializes in negative status effects and attacks that change party orientation. After you've selected your party, you're able to purchase provisions for your excursion. I'll note that sometimes the game will display a name that corresponds to your team composition above their heads. It was never fully explained, but I'm assuming this was because the team worked well together, whether that meant skill synergy or what have you. Provisions include fundamental dungeon exploration items like torches and shovels, food and bandages, and if you go in without a good stock, you're in for a rough time. The most important items here, in terms of the game's mechanics, are the torches. You'll want to take several with you every run, though how many you'll need exactly is based on length of the dungeon, which is detailed when you select a quest before embarking, and party makeup, as some combat skills can extend the life of your light. The narrator says it best: packs laden with loot are often low on supplies. Your inventory space is limited to 16 slots, as is the amount of items you can stack, so if you take too many supplies, you won't be able to bring back crucial heirlooms and other valuables you'll find at the dungeons. If you pack too lightly, however, you'll find yourself at the dungeon's mercy. Your reasons for exploring the dungeon will vary based on the quest you select before embarking. The details of the quests, including rewards, objective, size of the dungeon, /time it will take to complete, and difficulty, are available at a glance. In fact, the game is chock full of useful tooltips that can be pulled up by holding down LZ, so there's never a moment when you'll be uncertain of an item or trinket's effects. Displayed at the top of the screen is the torchlight. Maintaining a bright light means your heroes won't suffer from stress as they trudge through the dungeon and a higher chance of scouting out points of interest on the dungeon minimap, but allowing it to dim grants the terrors that thrive in the darkness to gain the upper hand. Running low on torches is when things get really tense and your party's resolve begins to waver as stress builds. When a unit reaches their stress threshold, they snap and can either succumb to the pressure or prove their resolve. These effects can make or break combat for your entire team, as negative afflictions like sadistic or abusive will have your afflicted character talking trash and stressing out the rest of the party, while virtuous afflictions can decrease your stress and even heal the afflicted character each turn. Negative afflictions will remain until you engage the character in stress relief activities, while positive ones will disappear once you leave the dungeon. It's a really interesting mechanic that utilizes the RNG as well as risk versus reward. Sometimes, as weird as it is to say, having a party member snap and withstand the psychological break can be a godsend.
Injury and despondence set the stage for heroism or cowardice. A moment of valor shines brightest against a backdrop of despair.
But anyway, the dungeon map consists of rooms and passages. Passages consist of cells, each of which can hold an object that can be interacted with, a trap, or a battle. Battles are turn-based, and combatants act based on their speed. Each combatant has a preferred position that works best with their range, and you can change your formation at any time, though in combat it takes up a turn. If the enemy surprises you, there's a chance your formation can get shuffled. There are some skills that allow you to attack and reposition your characters simultaneously. Status effects in battle include dots, or damage over time, like blight or bleed, and also debuffs to stats and stun. Your heroes can also be struck with diseases in battle, and sometimes as a result of a greed while exploring curios, that will permanently affect stats until they are cured in the sanitarium. While death is permanent, you're given a chance at a second win in combat. Your character will remain at death's door for as long as the enemy does not strike them, and if you heal them, they'll be saved. You can give up and escape the dungeon at any time by pressing the right joystick, but this should be a last resort only as it piles on the stress. In lieu of experience points, Resolve XP is rewarded for those who complete quests successfully. Your heroes may also develop more quirks, both positive and negative, and quirks that haven't been locked in at the sanitarium can be replaced. As you continue to complete quests in the area, your mastery will increase and the area boss will appear. Boss fights are more challenging still and will require a good amount of strategizing, as they will often use dots and AoEs that will damage your entire party. Rinse, wash, and repeat. Heroes will join your cause, and they will die. Your resolve will be tested in the depths of the darkest dungeon, and it's in your hands whether your virtue will shine through, or you'll lose yourself to madness. Normally this is where I list the pros and cons, but this has been a sort of extra long video because there was so much to cover. My final verdict for Darkest Dungeon is a must-buy for roguelike fans. If this game isn't already in your Steam or PlayStation libraries, and even if it is, because now you can play on the go, you shouldn't hesitate to pick this game up on the Switch. The depth of gameplay, overall polish of presentation, and healthy dose of challenge make Darkest Dungeon an absolute treat to play if you've got the mettle to make the dive. I've been Dawn from NeedtoKnow Gamers. If you found this review helpful, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and as always, stay in the know.